Evening intuitives. A little late getting this second video up, but I had a lot of fun dealing with transferring car titles and notaries and the Pennsylvania state government. They messed up. What a surprise. Oh, you mean hiring through nepotism and cronyism doesn't give you the best candidates? Who would have thought? Me. But regardless, I have an INFJ topic tonight because I've been neglecting my INFJ playlist, and there's some questions people are asking in the comments, particularly about INFJ men. Yes, us elusive unicorns. I like to think of myself more as a dragon, being a witch, and I have a blue dragon right here. It is my sigil, well, through my maternal line anyway, but it's also the line that I resemble. I'm Irish and Italian. Which do I look to you? Yeah, anyway. So, question that keeps arising, because one of my most popular INFJ videos, or perhaps my most popular INFJ video, is it's an early video, so I'm quite awkward, and it's INFJ males' views on love and sex. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. I'll put it in the end screen. I figured out how to do end screens, getting more professional, huh? Slowly but surely, I'm figuring this out. Cut me a little slack. It's just me. One guy. Nobody taught me. I have to struggle and figure it out on my own. But topic tonight is INFJ males' views on marriage. So, what does the typical INFJ male view on the subject of marriage? Now, obviously, this is going to be heavily anecdotal based on my own experience, but I am an INFJ male, so I can say, as an INFJ male, this is what I believe in, though I did, consult a few other people online. But I will point this out. I'm talking about, heterosexual INFJ men. And also keep in mind that I'm also demisexual and a Sigma male. So those are important notes to keep ahead. So for INFJ men in general, because this is all generalizations, marriage is important to us. I've mentioned in other videos that INFJ men, the thing we seek the most is unconditional love, though true unconditional love, the true Greek meaning of agape, which is unconditional love. We, as most of us being demisexuals, do not seek eros, which is just lustful, physical attraction, like overwhelmed by, passion, ooh, save tonight, only last the night kind of one night stand, half a bottle deep of booze. Nah, not for us. So that's what we're looking for. INFJ men typically never go through a so wild oats phase. We know what we want pretty much like right at puberty. So like from 11 on, INFJ men, know the traits they're looking for and seek that out. Unfortunately for us, when we're younger, we're more introverted than as we age, and we're very hard at making the first move, particularly when we're young, and the introvert thing. And also, we have a hard time expressing ourselves and especially fitting in. We try to fade in the background. So, an INFJ male, marriage is important to us. However, for an INFJ male, it's not a necessity. INFJ men are not like, well, I'm 35 now. I guess, everybody, I guess I gotta just settle for somebody and start a family because that's what you're supposed to do by this age. No, nope, nope. We know what we're looking for. Usually INFJ men tend to gravitate towards one personality type. We don't like exclusively date that personality type, but we find over time that there's a certain personality type that ticks the most boxes for our type. For me, it's ENFJs, which is not all that uncommon for INFJ men. ENFPs are the most common. I would say that's the second most common type I've been attracted to for me. Definitely it's one of those two for most INFJ men. But we don't settle, so we know what we're looking for, and we tend to seek it out. And of course, as I've spoken in other videos, INFJ men would do anything for true unconditional love. We would never, if we were able to obtain that and it meant sacrificing something else to hold on to it, like having to move away or giving up a job you love, or, whatever it may be, we're going to do it because it not only is that very important to us, we understand even when we were young how rare that is. We weren't like, like 18-year-olds, like, oh, this girl's everything I want. We've been dating for a year, but, God played the field, bro. Frat party. No, because it's not like, oh, I'm this age, I got plenty of time. It's like, no, what we know, what we're looking for, there aren't many of. And, then you got to factor in Do I have a shot with her? Is she single? Those kind of things. Yeah. And plus, as I said, you'll realize how hard dating gets for my younger viewers after you leave university, because high school and university are not the real world. You will never again be surrounded, by, especially in university, thousands of people within a few years of your own age. That is not how the real world works. That is a bubble environment. Plus, then when you have to work, you're working quite long hours, and you're not able to see friends, this and that, especially when you first start out and you're working 80 hours a week and you got bills to pay and you're just dead tired all the time. And, you don't have the money to go out. You can't just sell plasma for your beer money. So I did in college. BioLife. Met my girlfriend there too that I dated for 3 years, who was an INFJ. But, so when we look at something like marriage, it is a very serious thing to an INFJ. It's not something an INFJ would enter into lightly. But like most things, if an INFJ man's at the point where it's like, I want to marry this girl, one thing, ladies, you can be assured of is if we're sure, we're all in. Because with most things with us, it's all or nothing. It's not something we take lightly, but when we decide we're in, we are all in. So it's not like you're going to get like some half-ass, like, just, maybe get married and because it's what you're supposed to do. I've had friends, not INFJs, that have done that, and they are miserable and overweight and drink too much. So that doesn't seem something that appeals to an INFJ, simply doing something because at a certain age it's a societal norm, even if you're miserable and essentially you're working a job you hate, you're with a woman that you don't want to be with anymore, and you're trying to drown your emotions in beer and wait to die. Ooh, no. Better to be alone. Sorry. Well, at least I get some. Gotta put up with a wife or a girlfriend. Succubus, just saying. But that's a witch thing. We'll talk about it another time. Anyway, so for an INFJ male, marriage means true unconditional love. That means for that spouse, we will do, anything from moving to giving up a career to being completely cut off from our comfort zone. However, for INFJs, we don't really have a comfort zone. Our comfort zone is alone time. So INFJ men, in that situation, I've spoken in other videos that from what I've seen, the most successful marriages that I have seen required somebody to move. In other words, it was not a situationship. These two people had such great chemistry that they attempted long distance for a time, and they knew what they had, and one of them decided, you know what, I'm not going to find this again. This is worth uprooting everything just to have a real fair shot at making this work. That is something I've spoke about since I was 18. I was this close to moving to Saskatchewan, Canada, until she left me for a professional hockey player. And then a year later said, oh, if only I could find a guy like you who's everything I am, but also rich and famous. To which I replied, Keanu Reeves has that market cornered, because he is our standard bearer of the Sigma INFJ male, whether we like it or not. Pretty good standard bearer, in my opinion. So, he's one of the few respectable people in his, profession. Perhaps the most respectable, second to only, of course, Amelia Clark. But, Dreamgirl gets extra points for being exactly my type. So, when we enter into that, INFJ men for marriage, like usually what I've seen in marriages where this has happened, where one's had to uproot their life, it's usually the female who has to do it. For the INFJ male, being our introverted nature, and that we have a handful of close friends, but we're not big on that wide circle of, acquaintances and people that are friends. We have no problem being the one who uproots our life. And INFJs, despite our introverted nature, we're very adaptable. We adapt to new surroundings very quick. I've moved a lot, including to a new country, and I have adapted relatively easily, especially if there's, it's the type of environment you want. Like, if I was moving for my job or for, someone I was in love with to like an area where I've always wanted to live, like if I was moving to Glasgow or London or Miami or New York City, which is most likely where I'm going to end up soon. New York for now. that's an easy adaptation because, like, ooh, progressive city with museums and, all kinds of poetry and cultural things to, and progressive people and people that get me in a witchcraft community. It's like, oh boy. Now, if it was, to the middle of nowhere, Montana, it's like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. Oh, wait, I'm an INFJ. I'll just have more alone time kind of thing. So we are adaptable, and specifically for marriage, we are the ones, that'll step up and make those sacrifices for that elusive blue rose of unconditional love. So that's important to note, to ladies, that INFJ men will, it's no problem for us to basically be inserted into your life and complement the life you've already built. We're not going to ask you to do that because, frankly, we're not leaving that much behind. Most of us, anyway. That was always my thing, because when I was young, obviously I spoke about it. I wanted to be a professional firefighter. Firefighter's a firefighter the world over, as long as there's not a language barrier. I was supposed to go to Arlington, Virginia in 2006, but a firefighter is a firefighter in Saskatchewan, Canada. They speak English there. It didn't. What was the difference to me? Move to one city where I don't know anybody for my dream job, and then graduate the academy and be transferred, to a country that has my favorite beer, Alexander Keith's IPA, and my favorite sport, ice hockey, and also have a girl that at that time I was madly in love with. It's like, gee, sounds like a good deal. And also her famous NHL star cousin was going to let us live in his mansion for a time, and that would have been cool. Him and I were friends for a while. I helped him out. He was always honest with me to give him his due credit. That's how I first knew that something was amiss, because he told me. But we don't have a problem with doing things like that. We will we will sacrifice just about anything for unconditional love. Like, perhaps if a male and a woman decide they want to have a family, male's INFJ, and both are highly defined by their jobs, right? But the woman makes more. Or perhaps the man has a job that only requires him to work 2 24-hour shifts a week, like a firefighter. Well, that's exclusive to firefighters. Or let's say perhaps he has some kind of job where he could pull back his duties, work part-time, and work from home, like some kind of trader or something of that nature, right? He would step up and be like, I will stay home with the baby so that you may, continue living your career, and not be emasculated by that at all, as long as the woman didn't care, because we don't care what other people think. An INFJ male, as spoken in other videos, has, pretty strong maternal instincts for a male, probably the most among men. So an INFJ male would be like, this is my wife's dream job. You know, she can't do this from home, or she doesn't have the ability, and it's not like it's I can work 2 24-hour shifts and still have my dream job. That's a firefighter thing. But it's like, but if I step up, then she's happy living her dream job. She's happy that I'm taking care of the baby. Because let's be honest, if a couple has an option for one of them to be home with the baby, whether it's the guy or the girl, it doesn't matter either way, except for breastfeeding is part of the equation, obviously. But that's better for the baby. If, of course, you don't need the money. Most people can't afford it. But I'm saying, in a situation where you have plenty of money, it would be the man would be like, it's the manly thing to do for me to make the sacrifice. Plus, in my case, I would do it because I love babies and they love me. Staying home with a baby sounds fun. But, we would be like, well, and it's also better for the baby, because it's like, even as a guy, I'd be like, it would be mighty selfish of me to, put my career and what I consider important ahead of my baby, and have my baby be raised by a stranger. It's my baby. And also, let's be honest, being male, especially if I had a baby girl, it's like, she is safest with me, and obviously her mother would protect her, but, I highly doubt that if I get married and, have a kid, that the woman I will marry will be 6 foot tall and 170 pounds. I will most likely be, larger, bigger, stronger, have denser bones than her, and therefore better equipped if there was ever a physical altercation where I had to protect the baby, kind of thing. But alas. So we don't enter in the marriage lightly, and we take it seriously, and we give our all, and we want that in return. We want our partner to be as committed to this and as sure of this as we are. And it's all about, for INFJ men in marriage, what your partner thinks and what you think. Don't give a damn what anybody else thinks about us together. And that's in any relationship. That's in, just dating too. It was a big problem in my last one. But, for us, relationships are all about the two people in the relationship, how we get along, other people's opinions. We don't care. We're INFJs. We don't care about that. So, even if, as I said, with marriage, it's how the couple itself for INFJs both interacts. If that means, the male and the woman taking non-traditional roles, we don't care what anybody thinks. Personally, I like to cook. I would like to be the one, to cook every night because I'm quite good at it. Remember, I had a borderline mother who raised me as a daughter, so I'm good at traditionally female things. So, that wouldn't be a problem at all to me. Plus, I found, girls love it when you cook for them, especially when they don't know how. A lot of my girlfriends were not very good cooks. So, things of that nature. It's INFJ men will do whatever if they're head over heels, truly in love with you, you have the real thing, he's found his blue rose. An INFJ male will make any sacrifice, will, defy any cultural norm to make that work. Because remember, INFJs, we hate the status quo. We want to fix the status quo. We're idealistic. We're the ones who step up and say, well, this system is outdated and it needs to be reformed. What's the deal with tradition for tradition's sake? Just because something worked 100 years ago doesn't mean that it works well or makes sense now. So I hope I explained this enough in a way that people who ask this question can understand how INFJ males view marriage. And, I think I gave good enough examples of what INFJ men would do and the sacrifices they would make in a marriage that the majority of men would not. So if there's any further questions on this topic, leave it in the comments section and I'll address it. I hope I did a good enough. This was all off the cuff. I didn't have notes. So remember, trust your intuition. If you think you found your blue rose, keep in mind, it is unlikely you will find another one. So if a sacrifice must be made, it must be made. Because as witches know, you can never get what you truly want while sacrificing nothing. And remember, there's no integrity in giving up the one you love to be popular simply because the club or the good old boys club or the women's club is telling you otherwise. Most likely they're jealous of what you have because they can never have it and they want you to be miserable because misery loves company.